Welcome! This video will cover the basic elements of what Creative Commons licensing is, how it works, and when you might use it. There are some key terms you should know before we jump into talking about Creative Commons. First, licensing. That refers to whether or not you have permission to use an image or other created item, and the process you go through to get that permission. Next, fair use. Fair use covers situations where you may not need a license to make use of someone else's content. For instance, if you are an instructor creating lesson materials, or you are a student working on a project, you may be able to claim fair use for content you use for academic purposes. Next comes copyright. Copyright is the law that gives the creator of an object the right to decide who gets to use it, and whether or not they have to pay for a license to use it. After copyright comes public domain, which is where created objects end up once their copyright period has ended. Laws differ in the United States and other countries, but at some point copyright ownership of created objects will end, and they will go into the public domain where anyone can use them without a license. Finally, Creative Commons. This is the term that will get greater explanation in the rest of the video, but in general, it is a system that gives a creator an easy way to allow people to use what they create without requiring the user to seek permission or pay a fee. So let's work through this process a bit. Let's say that I take a picture. By taking that picture, I own the copyright to that image. No one can use that image if they see it posted on my Instagram account or a website without asking me for permission. I should also fill out a copyright form with the U.S. government's Copyright Office to make it official, but as the law stands, my creation of the object gives me automatic copyright ownership of it. Now, for me, this is all well and good. The image is mine, and I have the rights to use it however I'd like. But if someone else is interested in using it, they are on the other side of the legal fence that protects my image. They have to come to me and ask for permission, a license to use it. I could decide to charge them a fee for providing that license. But what if I decide that I would like to make my image more available for people to use? What if I want the image to be able to roam free and be used by anyone in the world? Or what if I have just a few restrictions to make? How can I get my image out from behind the fence? That's where Creative Commons licensing comes in. Creative Commons is a nonprofit organization that set up a structure to give creators the freedom to share their work in the way they wish to. They have a standardized set of rules that let you grant permission to people to use your work, and they work with governments around the world to ensure that the Creative Commons license is recognized legally. The image on the screen shows their logo with the CC abbreviation that stands for Creative Commons. So what options do you have with Creative Commons? Well, you have three choices to make. First, do you want people to have to give you credit or attribution for your work? If not, you can move your object right into the public domain. Second, would you like people to be able to change your work in some way, or can they not make any changes? If they are allowed to make changes, they are also required to use the same sort of share-alike license on the object that they end up with. Third, can your work be used for commercial purposes, or only for nonprofit or educational use? Once you've made those three decisions, you'll see that your answers can be combined in a number of ways. This scale shows the various CC licenses ranked from most open to least open. Starting from the top, you can have your object in the public domain, or you can have it attributed to show that it is by you, or have it attributed to you but also required to be shared alike whenever people use it. Stepping toward the less open options, you can add the no derivatives option so that your work must stay the same. You can specify that it cannot be used commercially, and next that it cannot be used commercially but also must be shared alike. And finally, you can require that the work not be used commercially and also cannot be changed by the user. Okay, that's a lot to take in the abstract. Something that makes this easier is a page on the Creative Commons site that walks you through some questions of what you'd like to allow people to do, or restrict them from doing, with your work. Then it shows you on the screen which of the licenses you've chosen and gives you the language and the code to post your CC license along with your image or other work. One way to see how this works is to go find some Creative Commons licensed images and think through how this works with each one. Where can you find them? Openverse is one huge collection of Creative Commons licensed images and audio files. You can search by keyword to find images that match your need, and then copy or download them along with a license statement to place wherever you use the image. You can also use an image search in Google to find Creative Commons licensed images. You just need to click on Tools, then Usage Rights, and then select Creative Commons to only display those licensed items in your search results. Now, back to the image that I created. Here's how I decided to license it with Creative Commons. CC BY, so that I would be named or attributed as a creator of the image. NC, so that it could not be used for commercial purposes, like an ad for a product. And SA, share alike, so that someone could use part of the image or change the colors in the image, but they would have to share that version of the image with anyone who wanted it under the same license that I shared the original image. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you learned a few things about using and finding Creative Commons licensed images. Be sure to look at the review document, which is linked in the video description in YouTube.